1, 2, 3, 4. If you can do all your stuff, what can figure it out? That's how it chooses you.
This is It Chooses You.
Oh, we're just hopping right in. Okay.
Well,
What?
I mean, we need to do our intro before we forget.
No, I like it when we forget until 10 minutes in. We're like, oh, by the way, you're listening to It Chooses You.
Okay, let's forget then.
Cool. I like it. And I'm like, oh, right, we got to identify ourselves. I mean, you know, I don't want to deny your professionalism. I'm happy for you to be as professional as you like to be.
But I have a list in my head which goes, do the clap, and then do the intro.
Yeah. You're going to be chewing ice while we're doing this too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, cool. Oh, you know what? My dryer's on. So it's all just... This is going to be a noisy episode, you guys. There's going to be a lot of little random noises in here. I did a thing where I was like, I'm talking about something I think is funny, and I've been watching a lot of comedy lately, which is making me happy. It makes me happy to a certain point, and then I'm like, would everybody please just stop shouting? Please just stop shouting. Can you tell the story without the shouting? Do you think the audience needs the shouting? Why is shouting the way people choose to go? Even people I really like and think are funny. Like, yeah. Oh God, dear God, please stop shouting. But for now, I was like, I need some shouting. Like, let's listen to some people shout funny things. So I've been doing that. And so I got up this morning and I was like, I'm going to have enough coffee. I'm going to have enough water. I'm going to move my body so my blood is flowing. And I'm going to be awake for recording. So I'm a little bit like... So good luck.
Does that mean you're going to shout?
Yeah, that's my joke. And then everybody laughs. Yeah.
Maybe that's what we're missing is a laugh track.
Oh, God. No, I'm the laugh track. You hear me fucking... just constantly in the background.
I love it. I really love it.
Super amused. Yeah, I'm comedy is important to me. I like it very much. Also, it's necessary. I like that, I like different perspectives. I like being tantalized with one perspective and then suddenly being shifted to another. I'm a big fan. And when you find a comedian you trust who does those things very well and in a very interesting way, it's like, oh my God, it's like being in love again. It's like, oh, this person is so smart. And oh, I just love the way her brain works. Man, this is great, Yeah. So I'm into that. And then you hear people who are just only using the rhythm. Like all they're doing is following the comedy rhythm and they're letting that do all the work. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sure.
Right.
Next. No thoughts? Having no thoughts, are we? Okay.
Who are your favorite comedians, Teresa? Like top 3 or name a couple you like.
Name a couple I like. Well, I've been listening to a lot of Catherine Ryan lately. She was on an episode of QI back in the day, and I thought she was very funny. And she's very feminist, and she made very interesting, funny jokes from a feminist perspective. And so I've been looking her up. She's great. She did a whole thing about Hamilton. That's amazing. You guys should find it. But she talked about that song in Hamilton, How Do I Say No to This? And she's like, she didn't ask you anything. She's coming to her local representative for help. Anyway, listen to the joke. It's awesome. So I've been listening to her a lot lately. I don't know if she's one of my favorites ever. George Carlin, very important to me. Especially thinking about language and how we use language. Monty Python. Monty Python might actually be in this story. There's a little moment in here. Okay. So, yes. Those people. And others, of course. So many. I mean, it's a silly question. Not a silly question. Not rude to you, but, impossible to answer.
Yeah.
I like smart people who think weird ways. So, I like a bunch of different comedians.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you? Do you identify comedy as something that's important to you? Like, do you seek it out? Do you?
Yes, I do. But I prefer it in story form.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy stand-up comedy, but it's not my favorite. I mean, comedy in general, yes, but stand-up in particular isn't, totally my thing. But, yeah, I like, it's usually more writers, or shows, like Arrested Development.
Oh, sure.
Was, fucking brilliant, and, Yeah, I haven't been super into it lately, there's not much new stuff coming out. So, yeah, I can't think of anything lately that I've been
Not
into,
much new stuff's coming out. I disagree, but that's okay.
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
So from that I take it like the visual element is more important to you than it is to me, because narrative can also offer you a visual, and certainly TV and those sorts of things offer you a visual. And in Arrested Development, that running joke where there'd just be like a blue handprint on the wall, just unrelated to anything else happening in the episode, just a reminder that that's still going on. Oh God, so good.
One of the most satisfying things in comedy is where the writer or the comedian honors what has already happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so if you can do that across a season in a show, the audience feels like they're a part of it and they feel seen and respected. So that's something I love.
It's more of a world. Like, yeah. Not just, hey, and now everything, we forgot about that fight we had yesterday. That was just for that episode. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That whole 80s sitcom kind of aesthetic.
What we grew up with.
Approach.
Yeah. See, it's interesting, isn't it? Because now I'm like, oh, now we should introduce the podcast. Like, I don't know why, but like now I'm like, oh, now it's time. We just have very
I kind of
triggers.
like us not doing it now. I kind of like us trying to do it and then not doing it and then.
Sure. I mean, we've already kind of done it. There's language in there you could like splice together to make it sound like we have a plan.
That's true. Or not.
Yeah, or not. I don't really mind either way.
Or like, it's okay. This was my get shit done that's been bothering me week.
Yeah.
Or more accurately, get shit done that I've been avoiding and has generated anxiety and taken up a lot of mental space that I don't really have.
Not as pithy, that second one.
Right. No. So I did, it ranged from like cleaning off the ceiling fan.
That's a big one.
Yeah, to like setting up a doctor's appointment that I've been avoiding kind of thing, So it was like big stuff and small stuff. And I just said to myself, like, you got to do one a day, one thing a day. And so I feel fucking great.
Yeah.
I've also dramatically reduced, not eliminated, my sugar consumption.
Yeah.
So it's probably the combo of those two things. Like, I feel so much less anxious right now.
Yeah.
So, it feels like that anxiety hammer could drop at any moment. But for right now, feeling good.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great. The sugar thing is really important, and I forget until I stop eating so much of it. And then I'm like, oh, right, I'm insane most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay. Sanity's so interesting. Oh, man. Well, and without sugar, this is important. This is important to discuss. I held a really good boundary this week because you and I have discussed that I have, various relationships, and I've been working a lot to identify the ways I'm complicit in patriarchy, because that's where oppression hits me, and I had a dude I know just like completely unconsciously hand me a task to do that was for his benefit only. And I was like, no. You know the day and time, put it in your calendar. I'm not fucking reminding you of shit. Like, I got so angry. And partially it's like you assume they're working on their stuff, and you assume they haven't done it yet. Like, how long does it take before they're comfortable showing you their patriarchy, basically? Mm-hmm. And it turns out for this person, it was about 7 months. And then it's like, hey, like out of nowhere, I didn't offer. That's not our relationship. And he's like, oh, keep after me though. Fuck you. Not my job. Do it or don't. I don't care. Oh man, so furious. So really proud of that. Like, and I didn't tell him to fuck off. I like maintained my end of the social contract. Thank you, bro. But I was like, no, you know the day and time. Just put it in your calendar. I'll see you in class next week. Like,
yeah,
Jesus fucking Christ. So very excited about that. I feel very, very positive and very proud of myself. It's so hard and so easy to just like take on unpaid labor for assholes who are used to being entitled to your free labor. No. Yeah. So I feel great.
That's great.
I was like, I'm proud. I'm building that muscle. Very important. Well, the thing I want to talk about today is called Teresa's in Trouble.
Which I love. I don't know what it is, but I'm really excited.
Yeah, it's called Teresa's in Trouble, and I was talking with another friend who's always Claire. Whenever I say another friend, it's always Claire, so just assume that. But she and I were talking about something, and for some reason I was like, I just have a list in my head of all the ways that I encountered the law from a very young age. And she's like, ooh, Teresa's in trouble. And I'm like, I think this is what I'm going to talk about on the podcast. Thank you very much for this idea, Claire. Much appreciated. So Teresa's in Trouble, the subtitle or the alternate title is just Misadventures. And it's short. I'm not going into a whole lot of detail. And it's not something I'm reading. It's things that I'm remembering and I'm hoping you'll interact with. So you can cut this out if you don't want me to frame how you do it, or you don't want people to know. But, yeah.
So everybody knows the expectation now.
The expectation is that
Let's
Claire
see if I
also
meet
participates. Yes. But I started thinking about all of the trouble I got into as a youth, and sort of when I stopped getting into that kind of trouble, and what other kinds of trouble I got into. So I'm starting with age 5. Oh God, it makes me so.
She began early.
She began early. I'm gonna laugh really hard. I'm gonna try not to. I'm gonna contain it. So when I was 5 years old, I was in love. And I think realistically it's possible to say that for every age I've ever been. Right. Relating to boys and men and being in love has been a very, very important part of my life.
Does it usually result in the trouble?
It doesn't usually result in the trouble. Usually it's running parallel to the trouble.
Okay.
But it's just always there. Something about male attention, something about daddy issues, somebody who knows more, go to town on it. Awesome. Needing male attention, whatever that is. So when I was 5, that's the year I was in kindergarten, I was in love. And his name, I think, was Jeff, although I'm not sure about that. It's been a while. And there's nothing remarkable about this boy that I can remember. He never made me laugh. I don't even know if we had a conversation, but I loved him. And I decided the way I was going to tell him I loved him was I was going to write him a note, of course, because you can't have a conversation when you're 5. Or I couldn't. My God, can you imagine a self-possessed 5-year-old who was able to talk about feelings and relationship? Oh my God.
It said, I have feelings for you. I'm not sure if you reciprocate, but it would be lovely if we could go for a coffee sometime.
Yes. Would you like to play on the monkey bars this afternoon, just with me, so that we can see if we have any? Oh my God, that would be amazing. But no. So at recess, I was like, I'm going to write him a note. I'm going to tell him. But I need to look a certain way when he reads the note, because me looking a certain way is going to definitely get me the answer I want, right? So at 5 years old, I'd already connected looking a certain way with being in love and being loved, right? That connection's already there. It's played out in a weird way, but it exists. So I handed him this note and I said, this is for you. Wait. And I ran over to the horizontal ladder, monkey bars, and I climbed up them and I sat on top of them, which we weren't allowed to do. That was not legal behavior on my kindergarten playground. But no one was around, so no one in authority was around. So I climbed on top of the horizontal ladder, and I literally laid down on my side with one hip in one of the gaps and my elbow up on one and my head propped up on my hand. Like a picture, I don't know if I had seen it, but you know that photo from the 80s, that super iconic one of a mostly naked lady with a snake curling over her? And then so that image, I don't think that's what I was going for, because it was winter and I was wearing big puffy clothes, but the same idea. I'm going to be up here and just relaxed and calm, and I'm going to look super relaxed, and then you're going to read it, and then whatever. So he read the note, and I think the note said, do you love me, yes or no? It was about that sophisticated. Do you love me? Yes or no?
Fucking poetry.
Yeah. And he looked up and he smiled, and he got this little goofy smile on his face. Really friendly, though. He was a friendly kid. I had good taste. And he literally scratched his head and said, I guess so. I was like, success! Okay.
Good enough.
Oh my God, it worked. Okay, remember what just happened. Remember all of these details, because this is how you get loved, right? So recess ends. We don't talk any further. I don't know if I ever spoke to him again, as a matter of fact. I have no memory of any future conversation. But I had secured his love, and so I got what I wanted out of him, right? Recess is over, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get down off the top of the monkey bars. And I decide I'm gonna do something I've done before, and I know that I can, which is to slip my butt between two of the handle bars and fold myself in half and fall down and catch myself, and it looks super cool. But I'd only ever done it in the summer when I was not wearing really bulky clothes. And so I tried to fold myself in half to slip through, and I end up stuck, folded in half, with my winter jacket stopping me from falling. And so my feet are going straight up, my arms are going straight up, and I end up just realizing that I'm completely stuck and I can't get up or down. And I was a resourceful tomboy kind of kid. Like, if I got myself into physical trouble, I could usually get myself out, whatever. But this time, no, I'm completely no, nothing happening. Recess is over. The yard is clear. And I have to scream, help, 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 screaming until the kindergarten teacher, the angelic Luana Maddox, rest in peace, my love, the best kindergarten teacher there ever was, complete angel, comes out to rescue me. She doesn't ask me what the fuck I'm doing. She doesn't chastise me for being late. She pushes my butt up. She doesn't yell at me for being on top of the bars when I'm not supposed to be up there. She just pushes my butt up so that I can get out, and then she says, climb down, we gotta go back to class. And she lets me climb down myself. Like, lets me take agency for getting myself out of trouble once she'd done, like, the tiny thing, right? And then we go back to class. So I didn't get into any trouble with authorities about that one. But it just seems like as I look at the rest of my life, it seems like such a strong predictor of the kind of behavior I'm likely to engage in and the likely results of those behaviors, you know? Like, oh.
The die was cast at that moment.
Yeah, that's it. Here's how I approach things. Yeah.
All right, here's my question.
Yeah.
So the moment that you tried the cool dismount, I guess I'll call it, did you, like, what was the impulse behind that? Was it a moment of triumph? Was it a further attempt to look cool?
No, he wasn't there anymore.
Okay.
I was like, I waited until most people had gone. This was unobserved. Sorry.
This was just for you.
It was only for me, and I think it was triumph, because I felt super cool when I pulled that dismount, and I knew I could do it. And so I was, like, in a secure area with it, I thought. Yeah, I was just like, and the cherry on top of this ice cream is that I'm just going to do my cool thing, and then I'm going to hop down, and I'm going to go back to class. Yeah,
You were writing a story.
That's right.
And you flubbed the punchline there. The dismount.
Yeah. Reality took over in the form of a winter coat.
You were already a comedian, is what you're saying.
Well, I think I would have been able to call myself a comedian if I had allowed people to witness it. But I specifically waited. This is the thing. I got to try it out in private. I got to try it out in the dark.
Yeah. You got to see if it sticks.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so that's first. That's Teresa's in Love, is that one. The next year, age 6, first grade, my first kiss. Oh. Now, 6 seems really early as I talk to people.
I was going to say, that's pretty young.
Yeah. So again, I'm male attention, primo. So great. All I'll say about it is that it was behind the utility building on my school grounds. So imagine a 1930s WPA style brick utility building that we weren't allowed to be in. But between the back of the building and the fence, there was 3 feet. And you weren't allowed to be back there because you were unobserved back there. And so it was trouble to just be in that space. And so we went back there and we smooched. And I'm not going to tell you his name or anything more about him because he's still awesome and he has a great family now. And, But.
I'm noticing that there really is this connection of love and trouble for you.
Yeah.
These two themes are super deeply connected.
Yeah. Well, what did I want the most? What did I want the most, and what was I willing to do to get it? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Age 7. Porn. Okay, so age 6, first kiss, age 7, porn. Okay.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. 7 years old is second grade. And this one actually did. This is when I, maybe I was old enough for my actions to have a little different sense among adults, or something shifted that I'm unaware of. My dad used to get, as I think a lot of people did, he used to get, like Playboy mailers, like subscribe to the Playboy magazine. And it would come with like a thing that had the covers of a bunch of recent Playboys. So no tits, no, but very, very suggestive, very provocative, almost tits. And for a 7-year-old, near tit, exactly. For a 7-year-old, ooh, the near tit was close enough, like so powerful. I don't like women, but these were amazing. I was like, oh, okay, whoo. So, very interested in sex. And he would get them and throw them away, and I would pull them out of the recycling in West Virginia in the 70s. That was a lie. I would pull them out of the trash can.
The old burn pile.
Exactly. The old burn pile.
The old West Virginia burn pile.
That's right. I pull them out of the burn pile, and I take them to my room.
We recycle it into smoke.
That's right. It goes to space. Pull them out and look at them. And just be like, oh, what's this? And like having that charge, but not really understanding. Absolutely unconnected to genital anything at this point. Fully brain. Yeah. So that. And then I decide, I think I had seen penises like either in graffiti or something. Like I had no photo of penis at this point. And they're really disturbing when you're young. Like they're disturbing now. It's not a, it's not like an image you seek out, I don't think. But, and I don't know why breasts are different, but I have them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Somebody who understands psychology, go ahead and write in and tell me about my shit.
Well, and there's the thing too, like, because you can sense when you look at that image of a woman that men want something from her. That is presented as glamorous or desirable on some level.
Yeah.
And even at that young age, you start to go, how can I be that? Yeah. Or like, I want to understand that so I can be it, right?
Yeah, that's, sure.
There you go.
Thank you. Done. Thank you, psychologist Claire.
We don't need any more psychologists. That's enough, okay? Everybody.
Psychologists, stop writing in. We get so many emails from you guys. Go and treat your own patients. What are you doing?
We don't have time for this. You don't have time for this. Go, I don't know. Fix the people who aren't wearing masks or something.
Yeah, that's right. Or don't. And they can die. That's fine.
Yeah.
So this is on my mind. Obsessively, probably. Because as I'm doing homework at some point, very nearly around that time, as I'm doing homework around that time, on the back of it, I'm just doodling tits and cocks. Just doodling tits and cocks on the back of my homework, not giving it a second thought. Early drawings are just circles within circles within circles. And then like roughly oblong. No balls. I don't understand balls yet. Just roughly oblong. The line at the end, And I turned in this piece of homework and my teacher is like, Teresa, you need to stay after class today. And I was like, what the fuck? And, I got in trouble a lot. So I was like, but today I don't think I did anything today. Like, why is she pulling me after class today? And she said, very seriously, and she took it very seriously, and she was doing her job, and she intervened as she should have, and she said, is everything okay at home? And I was like, oh, fuck, the tits. You saw the cocks, of course. You looked at the back of the homework. Who knew? They would turn the page over and look at the back of the piece of paper.
Oh, I just want to pause here and say there's this really amazing thing in kids' brains, and I could probably think of 1,000 stories out of my own life like this, where you don't make a connection.
Yeah.
Where you're like, because as an adult, I'm like, well, did you not think she'd look at the back of the homework? You're like, no, that wasn't even in the realm of possibility.
She's concerned with what's on the front. The homework is on the front. That's all she cares about. Yeah. She can't see.
The back is mine.
Yeah, exactly. It's private.
To do with as I wish.
Yeah. Is everything okay at home? And I was like, fuck. And I didn't understand that she would look at the back of the paper, but I knew the double bind I was in, right? everything's fine at home. My parents were good parents. I had somehow just gotten them in trouble, is what I understood.
Right.
And because I had just gotten them in trouble, they were going to get me in trouble. I was like, oh, God.
They're clearly going to be involved in this situation on some level.
That's right. The parents will be consulted. And I said, yeah, I don't even know if I spoke. I was very overwhelmed. We can also add to this mix that I have a lot of trouble speaking truth to power, always. So I was very overwhelmed, and I think I just nodded, yes, everything's fine. And I don't think it went very much further. And she said, well, tell me about these. And I was like, I don't think I said anything. I think I was like, I don't know. I like tits. I'm really interested in tits and cocks, okay? I'm developing early. Help me out. But I don't think I said anything. And my parents never talked to me about it, although I'm sure PTA night was just hellish for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a thing. Oh, God, even now.
Do you remember if there was any repercussion?
No.
Like, did they ever talk to you
No.
about
My
it?
parents were so repressed, they would never talk to me about that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, if we look at it, like, probably why I was so fucking interested. Because it was so
Right.
clearly in, like, the box you never ever look in, right? I was like, I want to look at the box. Yeah. Oh, I'm really warm remembering that. And I feel bad for them, like, she has to ask me, but also, like, she didn't follow up with me. She almost certainly talked to my parents, but I don't know that she did because they never mentioned it, and I'm certainly not going to fucking ask them now. Like, I'm not opening that can of worms with my 80-year-old father. But, hey, do you remember that time I drew a bunch of cocks on my homework, Dad?
I think you should, and I think we should record it. How much do you want it, Teresa?
Oh,
How
God.
much do you want success?
Will that give us success? Is that all it takes? Well, that's fine then. No problem. I just need to know that there's a clear path from here to there. I'll take whatever path as long as I know it goes there. Oh, God. Yeah, so my parents never talked to me about it. I assume she talked to them. But imagine, like, but nobody followed up with me. So, like, if something was in fact happening at home, the thing that was done in no way would have addressed it. Like, no one ever talked to me about it again. And if my parents, they did not, but if I had the kind of parents who were abusive, horrible people, and I was drawing this, but like asking for help, but not able to ask for help in words, but like trying to indicate, like, if there was that, then the system would have completely failed me because it never came up again, Yeah. So, whew. But I can't remember the teacher's name, but, if she ever hears this, hey, I don't know, did you do everything you could? I mean, but also, like, I can't be the only 7-year-old who, like, developed early in that particular way. Yeah. So it's, I'm not like an anomaly. I hope.
What if she had approached it by saying, like, hey, A, this is totally normal.
Right.
B, everything all right?
Yeah. Right?
Or I don't know.
Are you suggesting that elementary school teachers who work in West Virginia had anything other than an associate's degree in accounting?
Yeah, right.
I looked up, in preparation for this, thinking about my elementary school life, I looked up my principal, who was, whatever. We had issues, he and I. But I looked him up, and he only ever got a BA. So,
right.
Like, he's the principal of, like, teaching children. What's the Jesuit thing? Give me a child until they're 7, and I'll give you the man. Like, the person responsible for doing that only had a fucking BA from, like, Glenwood State University in West Virginia. Like, oh, Jesus Christ. How did we ever survive?
His motto was, give me a child the age of 7, and I'll give you, I don't know.
And I'll give you my summers off, I think. Is
Right.
Oh, God. To this point, I have not introduced my sister into this equation. But she's very, very important in terms of the trouble that I got in. And I'll go so far as to say that she's the cause of most of it.
Older or younger?
Younger.
How much younger?
17 months. So I don't remember the world without her.
Right.
But I do have that niggling feeling of, like, I had a lot of attention, and then suddenly I had less, and I didn't really know why.
And you didn't like it.
And I didn't like it. I was like, I don't have as much attention now. They're not hanging on my every word. This is an issue.
This must be addressed immediately.
Yeah, this is a problem. And she's cool, and she's smart, and we're friends now. But boy, when we were kids, whoo! Like, honestly, at certain points, I thought I might kill her. Like, I was literally planning her death and, like, how to get away with it. I never took action on it, which is how I know I'm not a psychopath. Because, like, my voice is like, don't kill your sister. Like, there was that little voice back there. You don't light her on fire. That's, you know, you're going to get in trouble if you light her on fire.
I like how your conscience is a nag in this situation.
Jesus, stop trying to kill her. It's not her fault. Yeah. So between the two of us, we were latchkey kids, so we would leave school and come home and be alone in the house. Not for very long, hour and a half, something like that. My mom had an early shift, so she came home early. We had this competition for the best, quotes, best spots in the house. Now, my parents each had separate sitting areas. My mother had a couch and a television upstairs. My father had a couch and a television downstairs. And so there are only 2 children, and we have 2 couches and 2 TVs. You would think there would be no conflict.
Right.
If you think that, you don't have siblings. We figured out how to make it a fight because we decided that the basement was the prestige. Like, hanging out in the basement. And partially it's because my parents were pretty conservative with the air conditioner. And so for a lot of the year, it was super hot in our house, and the basement was always nice and cool, right?
Right.
I like to think of it as like a weather-related rivalry.
And that was your dad's space?
That was my dad's space, yeah. So the basement is where it's at. That's where you want to be. We worked out a system because we got in so many fights about it. Our parents are like, you alternate. We're tired of refereeing this particular fight. You alternate. But one day, she got home first because I had something after school or had maybe gotten in trouble again and was therefore late getting home. And I came home and she was in the basement. And I was like, get out. It's my day. Get out of the basement. Oh, you're fine. And she's like, no. And we fought and we fought and we fought. But she stayed down there and I was like, stomp upstairs. And I was like, fine, I'll just be up here. And like 20 minutes later, I had just resigned myself to the fact that I was upstairs. I don't have a long, I don't hold a grudge very well, and I certainly don't, like, apply activity to, like, making the grudge end up in justice for me. Like, I don't have patience or stamina for that.
Right.
So, like, I get really angry, and then 10 minutes later, I'm like, fuck, it's too much work. And so, I'm just upstairs, and I'm fine with it, and I'm hanging out, and I'm like, oh, you know, like, I'm not burning with hatred that I'm not in the basement. I'm not constantly thinking about how to get down there. I'm doing whatever I'm doing, and she comes upstairs. She's like, you know what? You can have the basement. You can have the basement. Don't worry about it. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, Cassandra. Thank you, because it is my day, and I really appreciate you, you know, coming to your senses and like doing, like, honoring the agreement that we. I didn't say any of this, you know. This is all
right.
Like adult Teresa putting it on, but I was like, oh, great. And I went downstairs, and she had broken my dad's footstool. Now, I have to tell you this story to finish this story. My dad loves West Virginia University. In 1981, West Virginia University football team won a bowl game that they were not supposed to win. They were complete underdogs. And that stoked a fire of love in my father's heart for the university and the team. Now, he attended the university, so there was a little bit of that, and he's loving his youth, and now they have this great football team and all of this. So Mountaineer memorabilia in our house, very high value. Very high value, right? Sacred. He had a Mountaineer football footstool covered in blue and gold vinyl with the little blue Mountaineer and the WV on a gold background.
Yeah.
3-legged.
Was it round?
It was round, and it was about 12 inches tall. And he rested his feet on it like a king as he watched television in the basement of his house in Parkersburg, West Virginia. Okay? I went downstairs, and my sister had broken one of the legs.
Oh, shit.
And I walked up and I said, what the hell did you do? You broke this. Like, he's going to be furious. And she said, oh, you broke Dad's stool.
Oh, shit. It's on.
And I was like, and oh my God, that may be the biggest fight we've ever had.
Well, and she was clever about it.
Oh, yeah.
Because the evidence, she was stacking the evidence against you. Like,
That's
well,
right.
It was Teresa's day.
That's right. It was Teresa's day. It was not broken when I left the basement. When I listened to my Better Angels and came back upstairs,
Yeah.
it was fine. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
some low shit, man.
Yeah, it was some low shit, Cassandra. I'm going to direct you to this episode so everyone can hear your shame.
What do you think her version of events would be?
Oh, no, she admitted it later. She's
Okay.
like, oh, I totally set you up because I broke the stool and I didn't want to get punished. No. She's honest about it. She's honest as an adult.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, she's not a bad person.
You know, I'm
She's
an
just
only child, but I have family members who are still have fights and arguments and no one will admit the truth. You know, so that's great that at least now she's wiser.
Yeah. I mean, no, she's great now. Like we once we didn't have to live together, we discovered that we have a lot of things in common and a lot of similar worldviews. But Jesus fucking Christ, I was so mad at her. And of course, she said, parents didn't know what had happened, no evidence, no video camera. We're always fighting anyway. We're always blaming everything on each other anyway. And so I don't think either one of us got punished. Dad just was like brokenhearted, you know?
He just died a little inside.
Yeah. And he may have like tried to fix it, but as is like the habit in my house, things that were broken just sort of stayed mostly broken, like never actually repaired. Yeah.
To the burn pile.
To the burn pile, exactly. Let's just burn some vinyl in the backyard. That'll be fine. Yeah. So that trouble was like, oh, I can be set up. Okay. Like, here's the person who knows how I work and knows that I don't hold a grudge and I'm not going to be, like, driving to get back down there. And I can be manipulated by that, basically. It's like, okay, this is the way people can get me. Thank you for helping me identify it early, Cassandra. I appreciate it very much. Okay. Oh, God. That makes me laugh. It still makes me laugh. And when she tells the story now, she does the acting that she did. She's like, oh, you broke that stool. And then she laughs.
Evil.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Evil and skilled.
Yeah. She is truly, you are intellectual matches.
She's more stubborn than I am, though. It's unfortunate.
I'm frightened.
No, she could definitely take over the world if she wanted to. Luckily, she doesn't.
God, your poor parents, man. In a house with the two of you. Yeah. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yeah. And you're only 17 months apart. I mean.
Yeah. They basically have two genius bitches who hate each other and are constantly scheming, both against each other and the parents. Like, honestly, I would have, yes. I'm not surprised my dad drank. I'll just put it that way. Like, Jesus Christ. Get me out of this. Oh, my God.
No wonder he wanted to hang out in the basement.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, I'll be down here. I'll see you guys in 7 months.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. All right. So shortly after that, like 2 years, I started hanging out with a group my parents believe were bad girls. But I can say for sure, we're not necessarily bad, just super mean.
Oh, no.
But, and this is where comedy comes back in, one of them was incredibly funny. And I won't name her because I don't want to hang out with her. But, yeah, please don't contact me. She was super, you know, I mean, come on.
It was just funny because it's so real.
Yeah. But she was really funny. Like, made me laugh harder than anyone has ever since. And a lot of it is like being in school and not being allowed to laugh like that. Like in an environment where you can't enjoy things. It's just like the pressure of it is so delightful, you know?
Hold up. Is she the one that you did the mirror dance with?
Yes. Yes.
See the episode. What episode was that?
Who knows?
It
was Disaster Theater.
Yeah. See the Disaster Theater episode, everyone, for that story about Teresa and the mirror dance.
Yeah. It was Disaster Theater. Yes, same person, same group of people. Yeah. And actually, that story completely illustrates the relationship that we all had, which is like, I wanted to be friends with this person. She did not want to just be friends with me. And I was like trying to constantly develop some sort of special relationship, and then just everybody else should just constantly be inviting everyone else. And I was like, extroverts cannot be trusted. Why do you need more than one friend? What is wrong with you? Yeah. So I was hanging out with them, and her parents had a house that was in roughly the same neighborhood as mine. We all lived relatively close. I mean, we went to the same elementary school. But in the summer, I would ride my bike and we'd go to her house or whatever. Nobody came to my house because, quote, my little sister's there. Like, she was a great excuse for never having people over. And I have to thank her for that, because I think a lot of it was just, I'm an introvert, and if you're in my house and I want you out, I'll flip out and I'll just kick you out of my house. Like, I need time alone, and I'm a kid and I don't know how to manage this in a way that is like socially appropriate, and I will have no friends if I invite them over because eventually I'll get tired of them and just say, get the fuck out of my house. So, and I know that's true because I did it once. So she lived pretty close, and I would ride my bike to her house and we would spend days together. Like, I mean, West Virginia in the 70s, early 80s, nothing to do, no parents around, riding bikes around the neighborhood, getting into trouble, basically. I'm surprised we weren't all pregnant by the time we were 15. Like, just nobody around, right? So in her house, in the backyard, there was a garage apartment. Garage on the bottom, apartment on the top. And the guy who rented the apartment, I don't think it belonged to her parents. I don't think he was like there. I don't think her parents were his landlord or anything. But the thing was like in her backyard. And he lived there, and his name was Terry, I seem to recall. And she sort of knew him and said hi because she was dicking around in the backyard all the time. And he was coming and going like an adult does who's renting an apartment in someone's backyard. And she knew, or had found out from her parents, who were maybe friends with him, that he had recently broken up with his girlfriend, or something horrible had happened. And that was a topic of conversation for us. Like, what's it like when adults break up? We speculated at length, like, why they broke up and how it went down and what are they going to do now? Had no data, just talking.
Right, just imagination.
Just imagination, yeah. So on this particular day, that's the environment, and we're in the backyard, and we see up on his door that there's a handwritten letter, like, stuck in his screen door. And we can see his name is on it, like hand lettered. Not delivered by the postman, just delivered to his house. And we're just like, what is that? And so our immediate conclusion is that is from his ex-girlfriend. By reading it, we will discover all the things we want to know about how these things go down. It was, we felt like I don't know if they felt. I felt like an archaeologist. I was like, there it is. The document that will describe how this culture works. I will learn everything about adult relationship by reading this thing.
Almost as though you just manifested it.
Exactly.
Right? You were just wondering.
That's
and here
right.
it is, the
and
answers.
Here it is. Somebody wrote it down for me. Yes, exactly.
I fucking love kid logic, man.
Man, I was like 11 at this point. Like, really should have had a better sense of things, but no. No. And so she, my friend, dares me to go get it. And I want to do it anyway. So, like, the dare is particularly challenging. Because if she dared me to do something I didn't want to do, I don't mind. But I wanted to do it. But I was terrified that he would catch me. And I didn't want to get in trouble. Like, fear of being in trouble at this point. I've been in trouble so much that I didn't want to be in trouble again. I was tired of being grounded. It was very unfortunate. I wanted to go get it, but I was terrified of him catching me. Like, what if
was he home? Did you know he was home? Or
didn't know if he was home. Didn't know where he was. You had to walk up rickety staircase that made a lot of noise to get to the door because the door was above the garage. And I was like, I don't want to get caught. I'm really scared. And I hemmed and hawed for what felt like an hour. Yeah. Right? It would have taken less than a minute to run up and run back down. And I just did not have the courage to make that happen. But I finally, I got myself. I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I was 3 steps up, and his car pulls around the corner. And he's coming home, and he catches me frozen on halfway up his stairs, obviously going to fuck with his house in some way. And I go, and I run back down, and I run to her house, and she doesn't run. She's just like, hey, Terry, because she's a much better criminal than I am. Right. Like, hey, Terry. And I run back to her house, and she follows a minute later, and she's like, he didn't know what you were doing. Don't worry, it's fine. And I was like, okay, well, I have some things about crime to learn from you, clearly. But yes.
Inability to be cool.
Yes. No chill. I have no chill, and I never did. And that's why these mean girls stopped being my friend. Like, I could not be cool about anything. Which I see now as a strength of mine. Like, I like my nerdy enthusiasm. But it made the teen years very challenging, for sure. Okay, so I ran for it. And I didn't get in trouble, except in my heart. Right. But I also understood that if you need to be decisive if you're gonna fuck up, like, break the law, if you're gonna do that thing, you have to be ready to be in it immediately. Commitment is important. Right. So I learned that lesson. So also age 11. Theft, I stole just all kinds of shit when I was a kid.
Oh, yeah?
I didn't steal from people I knew, but I was a big time snoop. in any house I was allowed to be in. Just drawers, closets, boxes and closets were my favorite. And, you know, partially, like, my family didn't really pay attention to what we were doing, and so that's just how we spent a lot of our time. It's like, what's in Mom and Dad's closet? Like, what's in this nightstand? But yeah, I was a big-time snoop, and I tried to shoplift, but because I had no cool, I had no chill, I knew I was going to get caught. I never got caught. I stole several things that didn't, but I was like, this is... The emotional strain of it is too much for me. I can't steal in a location where the police might be involved. But places that felt safe were like, I can steal things from school. I can steal things from my family. Sure, right. No problem. Yeah. So when I was 11, over the summer, I lived right down the street from my elementary school. And the building was sometimes unlocked over the summer. Or like early summer, like school been out for like a week or something.
Right.
And teachers were still doing their wrap-up meetings or whatever. So the building was unlocked and sparsely policed. And I went in and just found an unwisely unlocked office and walked in and I was like, I'm going to steal this voice memo recorder. And I picked it up and I just walked right out of the building. And I was like, ooh, I have this thing. Isn't this fun? But the guilt of it made me unable to even engage with the object. It was like the object was on fire. Like I couldn't even touch it. Yeah, which is really interesting. Like compulsion to steal and intense guilt and shame every time I did. So what is that about?
Hey, it's the American way.
Oh my God. Like if you feel so much guilt and shame, maybe just don't fucking do it, which is eventually where I got to. But I had to like develop into that, you know?
Yeah.
So I stole this thing. And then like, or maybe it was spring break or a weekend or something because I was back in school after. And my principal, as I've mentioned before, was a questionable human being. He might have been fine on the personal, but he and I did not get along. And so I stole this thing and I was called down to the office. And he was like, so the custodian came to me with an interesting story. You know, you were in the building, you know, on a Saturday or whatever. And, you know, there's some equipment missing from the office she saw you going into. Do you know anything about that? And I was like, no, I don't. And she like tried to look innocent, like really big eyes, you know. And he said his tagline, which was, you don't know what I know. Right?
That's some bullshit.
Isn't it? Isn't it, though?
Oh, man. I can't think of a specific example, but I know fucking adults said that shit to me.
Yeah.
And, yeah, that makes me want to scratch your eyes out.
Yeah. Like,
Not
talk
yours.
about... You're an adult. Obviously, there's lots of things you know I don't know. That's your position? Like, okay, you haven't earned that. You've just lived longer than me. Like, that's not a skill on your part. Oh, so gross. Yeah. But he said that, and I immediately broke because I'm really bad at crime. And I was like, I took it. Here it is. You know. And I don't even know if he told my parents. I don't remember getting in trouble for it. This is the other thing. Like, I got in trouble so much that they just stopped telling my parents, I think. Because they're like, obviously it's not doing any good. She's still doing this shit. So why spend the time having the conference? Although my parents, my mother in particular, might have a different story. Because maybe they were called in every single time and just never talked to me about it. Anyway, so I stole that thing. I got caught. No worries. But so back to that tagline. So I knew that was his tagline because at some point the same year, the mean girls I was friends with and me had chosen a child to bully and bullied her relentlessly and just randomly, no reason. She had done nothing wrong. She wasn't unpleasant. She was, you know, nothing going on. Just random target. You're it. Thank God it's not me. I'm going to be like, whatever. And so we were horrible to her in many ways, setting her up for things and, you know, making up stories about things she did and spreading them among friends. And, you know, I'm very ashamed of it. It was not great behavior. But at one point, I think not me, but someone in the mean group had actually taken something from her. And in my mind, because I was a thief, that like crossed the line. Right. Like, I know how powerful stealing is, and I know that that's not okay. And so we were all called down to the office, but she was called too. And I was like, this is interesting. This is a new format for how this usually goes. Why is she here as well? And I thought something like her parents are going to come in and tell us about the impact on her. Like, I imagined that this was like a way of making us understand how horrible we were being, which I fully knew. Like, it's just the worst. I have so many things to atone for. But no, what happened was the principal had us all talk about whatever this most recent trouble was. And after this girl who was being bullied told her side, he said, "You don't know what I know." I was like, you fucking prick.
Is that when you knew it was just a trap?
Well, I was just like, well, yes, but I didn't know who it was for. I couldn't identify who was in it, who was in the trap. And then he went around the circle and asked all the mean girls what we didn't like about this girl.
What?
Yeah. This is why people with a BA should not be in charge of children, my friends.
Oh my God.
Right? And I was like, oh, but I got to go first. And that was my role, is like because I was straight inside, like I was an upright citizen inside, and I was trying on the clothes, right, of horrible behavior. I was the one always chosen to interface with authority. And so they all kind of looked at me, and I went first, and I said a couple things, and then I said, but basically, I don't like her because she lies. And everyone else after me said, she lies. And that was the end of the meeting. He's like, I hope you've learned something today.
Oh, Jesus
girl
Christ.
Who is being bullied. And I was like, adults are fucked up. Adults, A, don't know anything. And B, if they do, they may actually be evil. Like, my disrespect for authority came directly from this man. Directly from him. Because I had, for the most part, caring, loving teachers who, by the way, were women. And then this dude was the principal, and that's not a coincidence, right? Less skilled than everyone in the building, and yet paid more and in charge, which is infuriating and must have been for them. But I look at my kindergarten teacher, who is literally one of the best human beings that has ever been. And then I look at this asshole, and I'm like, okay, two very different messages there. Two very different messages. Yeah. So if you can believe that shit... Yeah.
What a fucker, man.
Yeah. Like, what? On what planet is that how? Like, you're not a child psychologist, and I know that because you just essentially reinforced in this girl that her bullying is her, like, the fact that she's bullied is her fault somehow. Based on evidence collected from the worst people in the school. Like, we're literally the worst. We are always in trouble. We are always doing shit. And you let us band together to bully her in front of you, and then you took our side.
Well, I mean, that's also the American way. Sanctioned bullying, right?
Oh, God. Yes.
Sanctioned murder.
Yes.
Sanctioned,
Oh, God. So terrible. So, mostly after that, they stopped talking to me. We were about to go to junior high anyway, and it was clear we didn't really have much in common. By that point, it was clear we didn't really have much in common, and I was like, I gotta get out of this. This is a shortcut to prison. I gotta make some different choices with my life. But before we stopped being friends, before we stopped spending time together, the mean girls and I had a sleepover, and this is age 12 sleepover, right? I hated having sleepovers because, as I mentioned before, at a certain point, I don't want you in my house anymore, and I need you to get the fuck away.
Right. And that's overnight. That's a big commitment.
It is. It's many hours, and they're the kind of girls who, like, wanted to be up until 3 a.m, and I was like, I'm really cold and tired. Can we please sleep? I was always the first one to sleep. It was deeply uncool. But I decided I'm going to show them that I'm cool. Because, as I said, I was a tomboy, and so I was constantly on the roof of my house. We had an attic where the windows opened onto a roof, and from the lower roof you could get to the higher roof, and, like, the higher roof had a steeper slope, and so that was a greater achievement, and I had a lot of roof-based shenanigans that happened. All of them were super fun, and to this day, I love being up on roofs. If you have a house where I can get on your roof, I will try and get out there. So I'm going to invite them over, and I'm going to bring them out on the roof at night, and we're going to look at the stars, because I'd been up there, quiet in the dark, looking at the stars from my roof, and it was really beautiful. And I was like, this is something awesome that I can share with them. And also, it's illegal, and so I'm going to look cool. I'm going to have the thrill of my own that I'm breaking the law, and it's going to be really pretty when we get up there. Now, talking about things kids don't understand. The roof we climbed out onto was the roof of my parents' bedroom.
Right.
So imagine a herd of 11 or 12-year-old girls climbing out onto your roof at not even that late, 11:30 or midnight. You've just gone to bed. You may be trying to have sex down there, and this is interrupting you. I don't know what they got up to. So I climbed out, and, you know, we had to whisper, like, down in the basement, the sleepover was in the basement. We had 2 flights of stairs to go up. We had to walk past their bedroom to get to the stairs in the first place. I climb out onto the roof, and I lean in, and I say, okay, let me help whoever's next. And my mom's face pops up in the window, furious, and she grabs my arm. She says, get in there. She's like, you all go downstairs, and you don't come out of this room until morning. And I was like, that's fair. But also, I'm never going to be cool. Oh, right. No.
Thanks, Mom.
It's over. It's over. Yeah. I'm never going to be cool. But can you imagine and the reason they didn't immediately follow me out is because they were all fucking scared of climbing on a roof at night. As you might be if you weren't whatever I was that wasn't scared of that. And so, like, in a way, I'm like, yeah, she saved me, because I would have been responsible for an 11-year-old falling off a roof at midnight.
Right, totally.
Thanks, Mom. I mean, I guess parents do serve a purpose. All right.
On occasion.
On occasion. So around that same time, I stopped being friends with these girls. The bullying principle and the aborted roof journey kind of sealed that coffin lid. And so I was spending more time with my sister, especially because in the summer we kind of only had each other, and our parents worked, and so we didn't have access to a car. We had to be in or around our house, in our neighborhood. So we were kind of it, right? Which is part of why the tension was so strong, is because we're all we have and we hate each other. This is a very challenging environment. But she and I both played softball and baseball growing up. And we would spend time, like, working on our throwing arms by throwing a softball long ways over the house. Like, stand across the street, throw the ball long ways over the house. She stands in the backyard and catches it. And then we have the timing so that, you know, she's in the backyard and she chucks it and I catch it across the street, etc. And it was
God, that sounds so fun.
Yeah, so fun. Because you don't see it until it's, like, at a certain... You know, it's closer than it would be. You don't see her throw it, and so it's like a surprise what angle it's going to come from.
That's a really good practice regime, actually.
Yeah, it was great. And we took turns who had to be on the street side, because that was, of course, the side with the most jeopardy. Like, a bad throw from the backyard could put you in danger of being hit by a car. Right. So, very important to, like... But it was great. Like, heads-up baseball. Like, are there cars coming? You know, it was great.
Keeps you physically aware.
That's right. Situational awareness. So we do that.
Which, let's face it, is a skill you could use a little of at this time in your life.
It's true. It's true. I need better situational awareness. That is 100% true.
Not now. I just mean then.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Super use. Oh, context? You mean I exist in context? Oh, great. That's very helpful for 12-year-old Teresa. Yeah. So we've been doing that for a while, and we were tired of it. And we're like, well, what else are we going to do? And I swear to God, like, the ideas I came up with, just mayhem, all of them. I was like, why don't we go downstairs and grab a box of nails and sit up on the front porch, sit up on the front roof, the roof of the front porch, and throw nails at cars as they drive by. Doesn't that sound amazing? Let's do that. And she was like, yeah, sure, that sounds great.
I realize that, you know, parents generally keep better eye on their kids these days, but this is also what happens when there's no internet, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we get creative. You were just being creative.
You had to entertain yourself. And what's entertaining to tomboys is apparently destroying property. Like, destruction of property is amazing. Yeah. Yeah, no internet, no HBO, like, no cable. I don't think we had a video game console at this point. You know, like, I'm pretty sure my parents broke down and got that Nintendo because they're like, we have to keep them inside. Like, we have to keep this shit contained.
We have got to stop unleashing them on the neighborhood.
Yeah. We're going to end up with criminal charges ourselves because our children keep doing these things that are just off the charts, ridiculous and dangerous and stupid.
Teresa Sparks, menace.
Yeah, menace. That's exactly right. Oh, God. So we're sitting on the roof of the front porch because the back attic window goes to my parents' bedroom roof and the front attic window goes to the front porch roof. So we're sitting out there and we think that no one can see us. I mean, it was a 1-story house. We were only 10 feet above the ground. Everyone who drove by could see there were 2 young girls sitting on the roof of this porch.
With a box of nails.
With a box of nails, yeah. So we're throwing nails, and we miss the first couple. We don't have our eye in yet. We don't have the trajectory nailed down. So we miss the first couple. And then we get a couple good hits. And then I was like overconfident because we got good hits, and we could see them like slow down, but then they kept going because we hit them on the back of the car. And then I decided, like, I'm going to catch this one early, and I'm going to hit it on the windshield. And I toss it, and it pings off the windshield, and the car stops, which hadn't occurred to me. That we would do this to someone. It wasn't like Frogger, like they just computer-generated cars. Like, no, there were human beings in these. The car stops, and I hear a woman start screaming at us. And then her son gets out of the passenger side and runs up to our house and starts, I'm going to come back here when your parents are home, and I'm going to call the police if I ever see you out here again. And you can't find... And we're just like, ah! And we just like scramble back through the window, like dive back into the attic from the roof. And then we shut the window and shut the curtains and peek out the curtains and make sure they go away. And luckily, it was the middle of the afternoon. Our parents were going home for 4 hours. And I was like, oh, here's a really important lesson. Don't do these things in a place where you're going to be later.
Right.
If you want to get involved in this kind of thing, go away from home first.
And hide maybe.
And hide, yeah, so that you're not just suntanning on a roof throwing nails. Yeah.
Because we used to throw like water balloons at cars and stuff, but we always hid.
Water balloons. That's a much safer idea. Wow. But see, water balloons we would have had to ask for the balloons.
Right.
Like we
right. And there's no danger in that. That's not, not really. Nail's much more interesting choice.
Yeah. I mean, by interesting you mean danger to life and limb. Yeah.
If your medium is destruction.
I love it.
Little artist.
Yes, that's right. I'm a destruction artist. Yes, that's exactly what's going on. Oh man. Okay. So that's my sister and I working together to cause trouble. And now we'll move on. I think later the same year or the year after, this is my sister getting me really good again in that way. So we were in junior high at this point. She had a different group of friends. We saw one another during the day, which we didn't when we were in elementary school.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Who would you say that you two were on par in terms of like troublemaker, or was one of you more of a troublemaker than the other?
I was definitely more of a troublemaker. I definitely sought out trouble in a way that she did not. As I have explained to you through that story, she was equally capable of trouble.
Yes.
But she made different choices. And I think, if we look at our later lives, at the point at which I decided I was an anarchist, she actually joined a church. So right. You can sort of see the trajectory of our spiritual involvement.
Yeah.
In those choices. Yeah, in our 20s. No. I was always in trouble. And frankly, she got up to some stuff. But I so early flagged myself as the one they needed to watch that she pretty much got away with whatever. Yeah. Also, I would never let my parents I would say something if they were, I was like, that's hypocritical because you just said this and now you changed your mind. And I would get in verbal fights with them. And she would be, at one point, I remember when we were kids, she'd be like, Teresa, just tell them what they want to hear. Just tell them what they want to hear and then do it anyway. And I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. Never occurred to me. Thanks, Cassandra. This would be great. Yeah, so Cassandra was if they tell them what they want to hear to get away with what you want to do. And I was like, fuck you.
Well, to be fair, there's something more honest about the way you were in a lot of ways.
Sure. Also attention seeking.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also attention seeking. All right. So we had different friends by the time we were in junior high and saw one another at school. And so sort of keep an eye on one another in a way we couldn't in elementary school. And so we sort of knew or were able to hear through the grapevine when one of us was going to be home late or whatever. And another thing to note is that we had house keys issued to us from the time it was decided we were adult. or responsible enough to stay home by ourselves and not have to go to the babysitter. And we both promptly, constantly forgot to bring the key to school. Like carrying a key in a book bag all day and then remembering to fish it out of the book bag to open the door at the end of the day was just too much responsibility.
Right.
And so my parents sort of understood that about us, and they kept a key in a back, like shed area that we could go and use if we forgot our keys, which we always did. And so basically the shed key was how we got in and out of the house.
Yeah.
So I didn't have my key. I got home after she did. I went to get the shed key because we were supposed to lock the door behind us. Keep it safe. Went to get the shed key and it wasn't there. And she and her friend had locked the door. And I knocked on the door because I thought, oh, they locked the door. I was like, hey, let me in. And I heard them giggling.
Uh-oh.
And they wouldn't let me in. And I was like, Sandra, it's not funny. Like, it's hot out here. I need to come inside. And I don't know why I got so furious. Like, literally, my mom was going to be home in an hour. It's not like I'd spent an hour on the... Like, spending an hour on the porch was not a big deal. But I was really mad. I think I had my trombone with me. Oh, God. I was, like, carrying a huge instrument. It was, yeah.
Note here, the giggle, the battle cry of the female alpha predator.
Nice. Yeah, that's right. I was like, oh. And also I was humiliated because she had a friend in there. And I was like, I need to get in the house.
Stakes are higher.
Yeah. And so they were terrified of me, she told me later. And I was like, well, fucking rightly so, because I would have murdered you both where you stood. I tried all the windows. I could reach around the house. Of course, I tried the back door. No, I am locked out of the house. And so I start banging on the door. And I'm getting madder and madder. And my hand is starting to hurt because it's a heavy wooden door. And I'm banging. And then I move my hand up and I start banging on the glass above the door.
Oh, no.
And 1, 2, crash. Just broke right through it. And if this story was a better story, I would have sliced my hand and I would have told my parents why and she would have gotten in trouble. But no. I just broke it completely unscathed. No blood.
It's amazing.
No evidence. Absolutely. Absolutely amazing.
So now you look like an asshole who just broke the window.
That's right. Why don't you care about the house? Like, what is so important that you, like... And by that point, I think they had actually unlocked the door. But I didn't try the door again because I wanted them to fucking open the door for me. I was so angry at them. So I've broken the door. And then they're like, we unlocked the door. It's her fault. She went crazy. And my mom.
Oh no.
And I just don't even know what to do. And I was like crying mad. And I rarely got that way. So my mom was like, okay, I think that's real. I think whatever happened is definitely her story is correct because she doesn't often get like this. And my sister and her friend and my mom was like, Emily, you should leave now. Like the friend should go home. I need to speak to my daughters. Yeah. Okay, so destroyed the door. And, as I said, nothing in our house was ever fixed. And so to this day, I think... Oh, no, they bought a new door. But until they bought a new door, they had just replaced it with a piece of plexiglass and just glued it in there. Didn't even put the trim back up on the inside. Just...
Right, why bother?
Yeah, no.
Well, clearly they were living with savages.
How dare you?
To be fair to them.
But yeah, at a certain point, they're like, we can't do anything to this house until they go to college. Like, there's no reason to try until they're gone. Yeah.
They're the reason we cannot have nice things.
So, there are some things that happened between age 12 and my senior year of high school. But I feel like they have much more emotional resonance. There's more various kinds of facts involved with them and more characters. So I'm going to stop there and hop to something that happened my senior year because it sort of fits the parameters of this list a little better. So by senior year, I had mostly gotten my shit together. I was capable of pretending, which is really important. Like, that's a skill I had to learn.
You had mastered the skill of telling them what they want to hear.
Exactly. I liked school. I was always good at school. I knew I was going to go to college. I was in the gifted program. Most of the kids in the gifted program went to Model United Nations. And I think it was my senior year. It might have been my junior year. Doesn't matter. Late high school, we went to Model United Nations, and my partner and I were assigned Syria. So we did a bunch of research about Syria and about the issues that were facing Syria that we were going to discuss. We traveled to Washington, D.C. on a bus full of gifted kids, which was a stinky nightmare, as you can imagine. I don't remember anything about the trip, but I'm sure it was horrible. I also remember that the kids, at least 2 of the boys who went on that trip with me, showed me what marijuana looked like for the first time. The gifted kids on the Model UN trip are the ones who, like, showed the weed, right? So.
And you were like, yeah, that's cool. Check out these pictures of tits and cocks.
But have you seen tits? I haven't seen tits. Oh, man. Yeah, I totally forgot. I forgot about that until I just started talking about it. That's where I saw marijuana for the first time. I can't remember those boys' names. And I wouldn't share them if I could, because that's private. Their drug use is their own private business. So, we were in D.C. My partner and I were assigned Syria. In the auditorium, we were sat next to Somalia. I believe we were all seated alphabetically. Mm-hmm. And the 2 guys who were representing Somalia were 2 white kids from prep school around Boston.
Right.
And we got along really well. They were funny, and we were funny, and it was 2 boys, 2 girls. So there was a kind of, like, balancy thing there, and there was enough flirting, but not too much flirting, and, like, smart kids nerding out and being smart. And it was really fun, and I had a great time. My partner, however, took an extreme and immediate dislike to the kids who played Djibouti. That's not what I mean. My partner took an immediate and extreme dislike to the 2 people who were representing Djibouti. Djibouti is a country on the Horn of Africa. I don't know what the beef was. I wasn't around at the genesis, but she fucking hated those kids. And I was like, okay, I'm not involved in that. The jokes you're making are funny, but I don't know why you hate them. So I was sort of distant from it. Also, I was completely in love with one of the guys who was representing Somalia. And I was like, I just need to spend all of my time looking as good as I can, trying to keep his attention and make sure he knows, and like completely focused on acquiring this kid. It's not healthy. It's not a healthy way to be.
It was you were proverbially posing on the monkey bars.
That's exactly right. My posing on the monkey
takes a lot of energy.
Yes, it does. Well, and it had evolved, right? Because there was I had done research to pose on these monkey bars. Like, I spent a lot of time learning about Syria. In fact, we went to the Syrian embassy, and the guy who gave us the tour, the only thing I remember from it is that he completely denied that AIDS existed in Syria. And I was like, I'm only 17, and I know that's a complete fucking lie. Who the hell do you think you're talking to? I was like, oh, politics is just more adult bullshit, like the adult bullshit I've been experienced with already. I don't need to be a part of it. Okay, thanks for teaching me that, sir. All right, so she hated the Djibouti kids. I think it was a 3-day, it was a Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, something like that. Saturday morning, she wrote them, unbeknownst to me, a really brutal note. And again, writing notes, like, no, it just really, the internet of the day, like but she signed it. And I think she might have actually presented it as though Syria was critiquing Djibouti in some way.
Right.
Which is, I wish I'd been able to read it, because she was really smart, and I bet it was really funny. I bet she did it in like a geopolitical way that was like not just bullying, but like adds these other layers to it, but still kind of bullying. So she had apparently done that, but I didn't know she had done it. And she decided to skip out on the afternoon session. And so the Djibouti kids, and this is when I learned she was right about them. The Djibouti kids, instead of finding her, turned the note into the moderators of Model United Nations.
Yeah.
And in front of everyone, first thing in the afternoon session, Syria was asked to stand up and defend what was written in that note. And I was like, I'm very sorry, I have no idea what you're talking about. My partner is not here right now. I do not know what is in that note. So I'm standing up in a room of people who will go on to like lead corporations and have real jobs and do things for and in the world in a way. And I'm being called out to answer for the bullying that my partner has done. And I'm like, well, but in some ways, like that's okay, because I had done so much bullying myself that I was never called on. I was like, well, this is just somehow. You know, this kind of feels like it evens things out in the world. But I came to that perspective much later. On the day, I was like, I'm going to find her and I'm going to kill her. So I lie, I dissimulate, I don't know what's in the note, I read it, but I can't remember what was in it. And I'm like, I'm really sorry, I can't answer for anything in here, because I feel like I'm not involved, even though it's signed Syria. Sorry. I was like, those little fuckers, she was right about you. Who the fuck, dude? You are fucking snitches. I'm gonna feel. Like, you could have done anything. Why don't you write a really funny geopolitical satire back? No? Okay, cool. Yeah. So yes, the shame and agony of literally standing up in a room of several hundred gifted kids in front of a panel of adult moderators who are like professionals, you know, and like, oh, well, yeah.
And then you're in trouble for something you didn't even do.
Yeah, this time. Yeah.
I don't agree with the karmic retribution argument. You did not deserve that. That was not your fault.
Well, you know, I mean, I believe like 1-to-1 is nice. Like, you do something and you experience the consequences, good or bad. Like, I like it when it's that neat, but you know, I'm okay with it being a little messier. That's fine. Oh my God.
Did you ever talk to this chick and find out what the hell was going on?
No, I mean, what is possible to say about her? She had some issues that were greater than that, and certainly greater than mine. Her family was deeply religious in a variety of Christian religion that like really oppressed women. Mm. And she was very smart.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure her life was very, very challenging.
Yeah.
And I sort of knew her through other friends for a while longer, but she and I never really hung out in the first place. In fact, I almost considered telling the story of the first time I got drunk, which was with her and another friend, a third friend. But I didn't actually get drunk. She got hammered, and the other friend took a single drink, vomited over everything, and then fell asleep. And so I had to clean up vomit and babysit my super drunk friend, who, by the way, if you're that young and able to get that drunk, you are drinking, like, as a part of your daily life. Yeah. So, yeah, a little more challenging. Yeah. Fuck her. Just, oh God, it was such a horrible feeling. Oh. And you know, in the moment, I was like, I wish that I could own this. I wish I could be like, yeah, those guys are fuckers. I wish that was but I was immediately shamed, you know, shamed. I don't know if it's better to like double down on the bullying, but I mean, it certainly would be a more interesting story than I stood up and was shamed. I don't know if it'd be more interesting. You can cut all of this out if you want. Yeah, it was a really rough one, though. It was really rough. Like, I was bright red. I almost started crying. I had to wear a blazer. I mean, it was just... Yeah. Everything about it was terrible. All right.
Everything's worse than a blazer.
Everything is worse than a blazer. And if they make you wear one, you know it's going to be awful. And then anything that happens is just heightened by the blazer.
I was a Catholic school kid. I consider myself an expert on the misery of blazers.
I bet. I mean, you really... You encapsulated that very quickly. So I thought you had some expertise behind it. Yeah.
I'm putting it on my resume, kids.
Yeah. Okay, 2 more. Okay, so after high school, I go to school in Boston. On my dorm floor was a co-ed floor. Half male-identified, half female-identified. Our RA was a guy who the first couple weeks of school, we had a floor party to like introduce ourselves, get to know each other, and he made a point of asking all of the women if their nipples were brown or pink. So that's my fucking RA in this dorm. Okay, so that's the environment I'm in from a gender power perspective. Okay, excellent. He's also wonderful, super great. A few friends and I, most of my friends are ladies at this point. And we're studying one night in the lounge, and one of the creepers on our floor is there with us. Now, we had identified him as a creeper very early. Just off. Just something off. Also, like, kind of sweaty all the time, really pale, pasty skin, kind of sweaty all the time. And I'm like, I don't know what your deal is, but it's very unpleasant. Not unintelligent, you know, had some social ability. I wasn't specifically worried about him murdering us in our sleep just because there were so many of us around. Yeah. But we definitely didn't want to be alone in a room with him. So we're studying and he's there. And we're all kind of throwing one another looks like, we gotta get out of here because this guy's a fucking creeper and I don't want to be in a room. I don't want to risk being alone in a room with him at 1 because I get involved in what I'm doing and then I don't look up and I'm alone with him. So we're throwing each other looks. He goes to the bathroom. We immediately grab all of our stuff and head back to my room. I was like, we can study in my room. My roommate's out doing a thing. I have some table space. You know, we can set up in there. It'll be fine. So we head back to my room, and as we're walking, we hear him yell from the bathroom side. He's like, "Where are you going?" And we start running because that is not, like, I don't want to answer that. Where we're going is none of your fucking business. He starts chasing us.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so we're running to my room, and everybody goes in before me, and I go to shut the door, and he puts his foot in the door.
Oh, no.
And he won't let us shut it. And I was like, you are fucking freaking out. You have to let us shut this door. You are not welcome in my room. Get the fuck out of here. And he says, "You have my shoes. I know you have my shoes." I was like, dude, you are insane. I do not have your shoes. Shut the fucking door. Go look in the lounge. Get your fucking shoes. We just didn't want to be in there anymore. What are you doing? 1 o'clock in the morning. 1 o'clock in the morning on a dorm floor. "You have my shoes. You bitches have my shoes. I know you have them. I'm not, if I let you shut this door, I'll never get my shoes again." I was like, your logic, you'll never get your shoes again. I don't even understand. Whatever. The RA comes. The RA who has clearly aligned himself with the dudes on the floor. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be no help, right? Whatever. And he says, okay. Creeper, I'll hold the door open. Go look and see if your shoes are in the lounge. And Creeper goes and he looks and he's like, oh, they're here. And the RA is like, have a good night, and let's just shut the door. But I was like, well, that's not how I expected that to go. I expected him to come in and like search the room and like make this, just go look for your fucking shoes in the lounge. Okay. So this guy, I haven't looked him up, but we called him Senator Creeper. We called him by his first name, but Creeper's his name in this story. We called him Senator Creeper because it just seemed to us that he was exactly the kind of weirdo that would like be so interested in accumulating power that he would be very, very good at politics.
Yeah.
And I have no evidence of his future life. I've looked him up occasionally and I can't find him. But I relate that story in terms of me being in trouble because that is the first time I have been legitimately terrified of somebody. Right. Like, my life is in danger because this person is unstable, right, and he lives where I live. Like, oh God, so terrifying. And they're all screaming behind me. Like, I don't know why I'm the one holding the door. I just happen to be last one in, and everyone's like, you know, like screaming 18-year-old girls behind me, and I'm like, get away, get away, get away. Yeah, it was terrible. What's up, Senator Creeper? Give me back my fucking shoes. I have no idea what you're talking about, my dude.
Yeah, well, and that indicates some kind of trauma or perceived trauma around women and lack of trust around so that's another red flag, you know?
Yeah.
Like the conclusion was these bitches stole my shoes.
These bitches stole my shoes. Yes. They don't want to be around me, so they must have done me harm.
Yeah.
Like, oh, those two things don't equate, but okay, cool. Okay, last one. This is the time I didn't get arrested, and it's real short. After college, I moved to Baltimore. I lived in Fells Point. I was introduced to marijuana, and I really liked it, and I smoked it a lot, and I partied a lot, and I went to a lot of punk rock shows. Late one night, after a punk rock show in Fells Point, my friend and I were out on a dock, smoking a joint, and we hear footsteps behind us, and a flashlight comes on, and it's a cop. Uh-oh. And we're like, what the fuck? No. Oh my God. 23 years old. What the? And he says, what are you smoking? And my friend says, weed. And he says, okay, as long as it's not crack. And turns around and walks away.
Oh, fuck.
And that was the moment I was introduced to white privilege.
There you go.
I was like, oh, 2 white kids on a dock smoking weed, not a priority. Okay. Flagrant, like, we were trespassing on a restaurant's private property. We were doing a drug that is and was illegal in Baltimore at the time. It was very late. We were dressed super sketchy. Not a problem as long as it's not crack.
Oh.
And as long as we're not black.
Yeah, that's what he meant, right?
Yeah, that's right. All right.
Woo!
Those are some examples of Teresa in trouble.
Well, absolutely delightful.
I'm so glad. I had concerns.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Love it.
Thank you.
I could listen. I was looking forward to this all week, and I could just listen to stories of you in trouble for the rest of my life.
I'm learning narrative construction. I feel like some of them definitely are not as neat as they might have been, but I'm working on it. And I've done a lot of like as I started to think of things that I've done. Well, and I remembered 4 more things while we were talking. Like I've been in trouble a lot. I should really examine that. It's pretty great.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad. Thank you for listening to me tell you stories.
Yeah. Thank you to our audience for listening.
Yes. Thank you for our wonderful listeners. We tell these stories for you.
We'll be back next week with something different.
Something else. All right. Thanks.
You're gonna love it.
Yes, that's neuro-linguistic programming. You're gonna love it, right? You think it's awesome, right?
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Testing. Great. Thank you for listening to It Chooses You. Your hosts are Teresa Sparks and Claire Patton. Our theme song is by Bobby Dart. If you'd like to get in touch with us, drop us an email at itchoosesyoupodcast@gmail.com.